Hi, this is Dreyer and welcome to the Financial Freedom Challenge, where our mission is to help you to create, to grow, to protect and to enjoy a life of abundance. And today, let's talk about passive income. You know, a passive income, if we can try to define it, is basically income that's resulting on a regular basis. In other words, it's a cash flow that you receive on a regular basis that requires the minimum or no effort from your side. So let me give you a classical example. If we take rental income, in other words, if I've got a property and I rent it out, then that rental income will be classified and qualify as passive income. And the reason why I say it's not totally passive is that you still have to manage that. You still have to check the letting agents to make sure that you are collecting or that they are collecting the rent on your behalf in terms of the properties that you've got. So most of the time we're going to find that there's no such thing as true passive income where you do not have to work at all for your money, unless it's a paper asset like a pension fund or a provident fund or something like that, where someone else then will give that to you and you have to do nothing. But then you're breaking the formula because you do not have control over that. So if something happens to that investment, your investment is gone and you will not be able to manage the risk as well as the growth on that. So active income is basically where you are then working for your money. In other words, what we need to do is the trick is to convert active income into passive income. In other words, we take a surplus, turn the surplus into a passive income, and the moment that our passive income exceeds our standard of living, we know that we are basically financially free. Now, if we look at this, it simply says to us that the moment that I'm earning an active income, I am the slave or a slave to the system. I am a slave to my boss. If I have got my own business, but I'm not free from that business, in other words, that business depends on me, on the day-to-day running or week-to-week running, and if I'm not there, there's no income, then I'm still the slave to the system. In other words, I'm not really free. So that business, and for most people, their business is actually another way to enslave themselves for the rest of their lives. So passive income then gives us what we call freedom, and that's the only way that we can get to financial freedom. So active income, the typical system that is set up for active income is the conditioning, the educational system and the financial system conditioning is that go to school, get good grades so that you can go to a good university or college, and then get a good degree so that you can find a good job that's going to give you a good pay in order to give you good security so that you can retire rich. Now, we know that that is not working and that is a lie, because if I look at the stats here in South Africa, we're going to find that 99.76% of all people that retire at the age of 60 will not receive a pension of 25,000 Rand per month indexed with inflation. In other words, less than 0.24% of all people here in South Africa will receive a passive income of more than 25,000 Rand. And that is absolutely frightening, and it's simply because we do not really understand the difference between active income and passive income, and why it's so important to learn the skills, to learn how to let your money work for you instead of you working for your money. Now, we've got a choice. If we look at it, there's only two choices that we've got. Either we can be slaves or we can become free. Now, if you want to become free, it's going to take a process. It's not going to happen instantly. In other words, the process to become financially free is as important, because unless we're going to start the process, we will never be financially free. And there's a very simple way that we can determine if we're going to be financially free, and that is simply to make sure that our investment growth rate is higher than our financial freedom growth rate. So what we need to do is to learn the skill to know how to let our money work for us. So the moment that we know that our money is working for us, then we know that we're on our way to financial freedom. Now, how do we know if our money is working for us? It's very, very simple. You calculate what's your investment growth rate And in other words, what do you get on your investments, on your surplus? And then you compare that to your financial freedom growth rate. So we start off by calculating our own financial freedom growth rate. In other words, when do we want to be financially free? What do we need per month? And what is the growth rate that is required for us in order to get to that? And if you can achieve that, where your investment growth rate is higher than your financial freedom growth rate, you are successful. So the journey, by simply doing that, you know that you will be financially free. How do you know if you're financially free? I've already mentioned that. You simply take your income minus your living expenses, and that if that is more than that, you know, on the passive income side, you know that you are basically financially free. Now, let me give you a practical way that I'm doing it. We've been financially free now for the last 23 years. And in my mind, it's actually a very simple process. I want my passive income, in other words, the rental incomes that I'm receiving from my properties, to exceed my standard of living. So I simply calculate on a monthly basis what I'm going to receive, what are the expenses, in other words, my living expenses, like my medical aid and you know, water and lights and electricity and stuff like that. And then I must make sure that my income is more than my expense. But I take it actually one day further, a step further, and that is on a day-to-day basis. I'm managing that, because if you're financially free, you want to stay financially free, and the only way to stay financially free is to make sure that on a day-to-day basis your income is more than your expenses. For example, last week we've traveled. We're going to continue next week with a traveling story. Next week we're going to start with camping, and last week we traveled a little bit more, let's call it in style. So on a day-to-day basis, I know what the average was, but then I started adding. What did it cost me in terms of the hotels that we stayed in? What did it cost me for petrol and for toll gates and for to eat out and stuff like that? And at the end of the day, I want to tally that to see that my income is more than my expenses. And that is the way to stay free. So it's easy to become financially free. It's a different story to stay financially free, because you have to monitor this literally on a week or a month-to-month basis. But in my case, I like to do it literally on a day-to-day basis. Now, there's only two ways that you can really get the process where your investment growth rate is higher than your financial freedom growth rate. And that is, first of all, property, which is the easiest because there's only 27 variables. But then you can also do that with a business, which can be faster. But because there's more variables, last time that I checked, there was something like 503 variables. Because of that, it's going to take a lot more, let's call it dedication, and the right mindsets and inputs to get that. And there's something else that I want you to understand is a business is only a passive income from a level 5, 6, and 7. On a level 1, 2, 3, and 4, where you are involved in the business, a business can never give you, it can give you a good income, but it can never give you a passive income. So the moment that I'm involved in my business, then I don't see that business as part of my passive income or my passive generating income. It's only when it's at the level 5, 6, or 7 that you can include that. Right? So let's look at today's challenge. The challenge is basically very simple. First of all, calculate your financial freedom growth rate. And then secondly, look at your current investments that you've got to see what is the investment growth rate. And if those investment growth rates are not higher than your financial freedom growth rate, well, then you need to learn the skills in order to make sure that your investment growth rate is higher than your financial freedom growth rate. And as I've said, there's basically two ways, and that is your property or business. Now, this may be an alternative, because in 1984, when I figured this out, I did not know how to get my investment growth rate to be higher than my financial freedom growth rate. I only discovered that in 1987. Okay, but what I did in the meantime, in 1984, the interest rate in July that year was something like 24.5%, the prime interest rate, right? The prime rate. And that means that most of the debt was more than 24%, 24.5%. So all I did at that point in time, because of a story where I basically got fired, I decided that instead of continuing with my endowment policies and my retirement annuities and my unit trust, right, where it was a hope to get to that kind of growth, it was simply start paying off my debt. And that's literally how we started. So although I did not know how to get that, my plan of action at that point was clear your debt. Because as soon as your debt is cleared, your standard of living, in other words, the amount of money that you need in order to sustain your standard of living, is going to drop. Okay, so perhaps let's recap, and that's going to be easy. Make sure that you learn the skills to know how to let your money work for you instead of you working for your money. And that is the only way to become financially free, is to get your passive income to be higher than your standard of living. Okay? So what can we do, and what can you do right now in order to start this process to make sure that your money is going to work for you? In other words, that you're going to get from active income into passive income. The first thing that I think that you should do is to have the intent. In other words, to decide, do I really want to be financially free? Because that, unless you have got that intent, unless you're clear about what it is that you want, you're not going to get it, because you will be tested. I promise you, it's not going to be an easy process. And a lot of people are simply not up to this. So they want to be financially free, but they're not sure if they really want to be. So make sure that you want, if that is really what you want. And then the second thing is, decide if you are willing to put in the time, the effort, the mindsets, and learn the currency, the skills that you'll need in order to get your investment growth rate higher than your financial freedom growth rate. You know, unless you're prepared to do that, it's not going to work, because that is where the test is coming. When we look at the formula for riches, my intent equals my focus. If you do not have the intent, you're not going to put in the focus on where and what that you need to do. It's that simple. Then the third thing is, once that is done, if you do not know your financial freedom growth rate, well, calculate that, because that's going to be the benchmark, because the rest is not going to make any sense unless you know your financial freedom growth rate. And then check each and every investment that you've got currently, because I see that the majority of people, they've got more than enough surplus to get to where they want to be, in other words, financial freedom, and turn that active income into passive income. But guess what? They stuck with investment that will never make them free, because they don't know their financial freedom growth rate, and they don't know the investment growth rate on that specific investment. And then if your investment growth rate is not higher than your financial freedom growth rate, then you have to take massive action and start learning the skills that is needed in order to get your investment growth rate to be higher than your financial freedom growth rate. Now, maybe I can help you to get the process started. I've got 2 webinars that I've recorded. It's part of the Wealth Insights training that I'm giving for free. And that is, the first one is, and I'm going to give you the link just below, is to discover how to retire in 10 years or less with double your current income. And you can go to my website, products.hannesdreyer.com, and then of course / and then retire-in-less-than-10-years. Okay, so but I'll include the link just below. So maybe just pause the video, make sure that you've got the link right, and then check that out. Maybe it can help you. I hope that it can help you. Or you can go to another Wealth Insights training, and that is how to discover how to wipe all of your debt, including your cars and your mortgages and stuff like that, in 5 to 7 years without increasing your standard of living. In other words, without the need to earn more money. And again, you can go to my website, products.hannesdreyer.com, and in this case, /debt-free-training. I hope that can help you. Now, in closing, always remember that in order to create financial freedom, you must make sure that today will be a perfect day. And to create perfect days, you must learn how to turn active income into passive income. And that simply means that there will never be a day in your life that won't require you to have the responsibility, to have the intent, to put in the time, to put in the effort, to have the right mindsets, and then to take massive action. Consistently doing what needs to be done is the only way for you to get the results that you want. So if you want to have financial freedom, and that is the result, you must make sure that your investment growth rate is higher than your financial freedom growth rate. That is the result that you want. And every single action that you're going to take will be measured against that. So every single action that you take today will either move you one step closer to or one step away from financial freedom. Therefore, if you want to guarantee yourself financial freedom, I challenge you to grow, to protect, to enjoy your money and turn your active income into passive income. Now, as always, if you've got any questions or comments or suggestions to become financially free, then simply leave them down in the comment section below, and I will help if I can. If you're not already subscribed to my blog, please do so. It's blog.hannesdreyer.com for more strategies and tips and tricks on becoming financially free. And then, yes, some feedback regarding my heart rate challenge, which basically is part of the financial freedom, because unless you're healthy, you're not going to be able to enjoy the wealth that you've got. Or if you're not healthy, you're going to find it very difficult in order to build the wealth that you want in order to be financially free. So I've done what I was supposed to do on that as well. And then thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you then tomorrow.